Sure.
And there was this guy there that, but my real passion is modeling. And he looked at me and he's like, modeling? I could find 6 of you at Hooters.
What?
And one thing I've seen with other creators is that I fall in love with genuinity. Someone who's awkward and shy, all perfect and polished. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm drawn to that, you know? And obviously I have moments where that confidence is shaken, but I don't lay in bed at night agonizing over the dumb things I did anymore.
Well said. Influencer Insight shares the battles, stories, success of the models, influencers, and entrepreneurs as they find the balance of being influential leaders today while creating long-lasting impact for the future. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another session of Influencer Insights, where I have Saffron Keehn here from Scottsdale, Arizona. She is a full-time model, more recently stepping into that, as well as she does acting alongside that as well. So she started out just thinking it's a fun hobby, and soon enough it turned into a real deal thing for her. So we're really glad to have Saffron on and sharing your story. So welcome, Saffron.
Thank you so much. It's so good to be here.
Yeah, you bet. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Did you got into the modeling early? Did you grow up in Scottsdale, Arizona and just get scouted, or how did that all come together for you in the beginning?
Yes, kind of. So I was born here, actually grew up on the East Coast in Pennsylvania.
Oh, cool.
And moved back here around the age of 18 and a half.
Nice.
And I'm trying to think about the very first modeling gig I did. I think I got approached at Fashion Square Mall by someone who was like, do you model? And I was like, no, but I think it'd be fun. And then I ended up doing a shoot, and that kept happening. The more you model, the more connections you make.
Yes.
And then as you start to put content out, people start approaching you and DMing you, and it just kind of took off from there. But like you mentioned, I more recently started doing it full time.
Cool. Good for you. That's pretty exciting. What was your background like? Like, is this anything in your family history? That you got some entertainment background or anything like that?
Yes. So my grandfather was the Winston Man.
Oh, cool. Cool. Tell us a little bit more about that.
So he was like on cigarette and beer commercials, and then he also did bodybuilding, and he's still alive and healthy and thriving. So
good for him. How old is he now?
I should know this. I think he's 75, I want to say.
Okay, cool.
Somewhere in that. Yeah.
Wow, good for him. That's very exciting. Kind of cool to have that inspiration, I guess, for yourself looking back, right? So
absolutely.
Nice. And otherwise, growing up as a kid, were you into this kind of stuff, or what was your interest growing up?
So I was a farm girl. I was raised on a farm. I was actually a tomboy, very much so a tomboy. I loved to get dirty and ride horses and do crazy stuff. That's also why I love modeling, because it helps me express my feminine side. It brings out my feminine side, and it brings out my creativity, which is so fun. And I feel like when I'm in a creative flow, I get so inspired and so fulfilled. And that's been fun coming from being a rough and tough farm girl.
Farm kid, yeah. What kind of things growing up on the farm?
So we had a chicken farm.
Models, join us on Facebook in our group where we've got all kinds of support and training you need to become a better model today. Check the link in the description.
We had 90,000 chickens.
I've been to those. That's a lot of chickens. Yeah.
A lot of chickens. Yeah, a few. So I learned how to work very hard and got very dirty. And that's why modeling, well, you'd actually be surprised. I actually get really dirty sometimes in modeling. Recently, I did a photo shoot out in the desert, and I was supposed to be like a character from like a game,
video game.
Yeah, video game, exactly. And so I got covered in blood and dirt, and I had a big old gun. So I got pretty dirty for that one. We were shooting in the desert, and the photographer's like, "Wait, let's make this really realistic. Why don't you just go and roll around in the dirt and really get the full embodiment of the dirt?" So I was like, okay.
Are you super adventurous, or you're like, I don't know if I want to do that, bro?
No, I'm very adventurous. The farm girl stepped forward real quick.
I've seen chickens and done all that. No big deal, eh?
Yeah, so this is where I'm comfortable. This is what I'm most comfortable doing.
Cool. How did you, I guess Arizona, you're fairly close to the desert that way, but how did you get connected with for a shoot like that? Was that something you just booked yourself, or did you have a...
That was through Instagram. I primarily book my shoots through Instagram or through like word of mouth. So whenever I do a shoot, I get everybody's contact information some way or another. Mm-hmm. And I tell them, if you ever need a model for anything, please reach out. Nice. And so I've booked a lot of gigs just by doing that. I also network a lot.
Right.
I feel like connections are everything. So I never miss the chance to get a connection. And then I run a few ads on Instagram now and then.
Oh, okay. you get some traction back from those kind of things?
Yes.
Good. What is there quite a bit of work around Scottsdale for that, or do you have to travel some?
I do travel some. Yes, I have a gig in Atlanta coming up in 2 weeks. That's my next travel gig, so that'll be really fun. I love traveling whenever I can. I've actually traveled a lot this last year. I've taken 12 separate flights, like 12 times on an airplane to different places, and most of them have been for work this year. So that's been so fun because I have super passionate about traveling and seeing new places and having new experiences.
What's the furthest
that's one of my favorite parts about modeling, is it opens the door for me to travel and see new places.
Agreed. Yeah, I feel you. That definitely is. I'm going to New York next week, so that things that you may want to do but you wouldn't do unless you're working there too, right? So
exactly. Yeah.
Cool. What's the furthest you've gotten to fly this year?
For a modeling gig? Let me see. I think it's Florida.
Oh, that's good a ways.
Yeah. I did a shoot in Miami. I was going out already to see friends, but then I was like, I might as well make some money. So I hit up a bunch of photographers and was like, hey, here's my rate. I'd love to shoot. And one of them got back to me. So that was
cool. Good for you.
Yeah.
It's interesting how much work there is if you just kind of put yourself out there a little bit too, right? And kind of go get it too, right? So
absolutely. Yeah. And that's the scariest part sometimes, but it's worth it.
Totally. So you kind of started with, hey, come do a shoot. You look really great in the shoot. Then you did another one. What kind of kept you going with that? Because obviously you're not getting paid probably right away, but how did you decide that you wanted to kind of make this more of a full-time thing for yourself?
Well, honestly, I left the industry for a little bit because I was struggling to get paid. And it's a very cruel industry.
Oof, brutal.
I had so many experiences where photographers would point out physical flaws or little characteristics with acting, or I did projects that were really embarrassing and flop. And I got really discouraged because I started when I was 18, so I was young. Right. And I learned very quickly that if I wanted to be in this industry, I had to grow thick skin and become confident in who I am and not let outside opinions affect me and tear me down. So I did leave the industry for a bit because I got really burnt out. But when you're passionate about something, it has a way of coming back.
Yep.
And so it came back. And then I joined the industry again, and I realized how much I'd grown as a person and just inner confidence. And that has carried me ever since. And now I'm at a place where I feel like other people's opinions bounce off, which is nice. For the most part. Every now and then, sometimes there will be something that's
get you somewhere, right?
Took out of nowhere. And I'm like, oh, that one hurt.
Leave me alone.
Yeah.
Curious, and I mean, be as open about it as you want, but like those opinions that come at you, are they all just industry people, or do you get some, social circles and friend circles and stuff that you get some feedback that way as well? Or
yes. Oh my, all the above. One thing that comes to mind, this was actually recently, I was at a networking event and I was doing marketing part-time and then modeling full-time until very recently I switched into full-time modeling. But I was promoting my marketing company and also mentioning modeling because it's my passion.
Sure.
And there was this guy there and we were talking about how we could help each other. And I mentioned that I do marketing and I said, but my real passion is modeling. And he looked at me and he's like, modeling? I could find 6 of you at Hooters.
What?
And I was
Are you serious?
So insulted and
totally
offended. I was like, okay, first of all, I personally keep my content very classy. Yes. Very classy. I don't do anything risque. I stay very covered. I never do anything super sexual or super revealing. Like, that's one thing about myself. I'm a working professional. Yeah. And like I mentioned at the time, I had this marketing business. And so my online presence was very, very classy, very high end. And it was such an insult to me. He's like, oh, I could find 6 of you at Hooters. And I was so mad. I was so mad. And I was like, I don't appreciate that, sir. I'm ending this conversation now. I'm walking away. And I walked away. And I was able to keep my cool and not bite his head off. But oh, that one really bothered me.
Capital D bag, that guy, man. No,
especially because it was at a networking event. We're all supposed to expect each other as working professionals.
That's right. Yeah. Oh man, check that out for the things people are not supposed to say to one another anyway. So and no offense to anybody that works at Hooters. I mean but it's not the same caliber, right? Like you're just doing something different, right? So yeah, that's pretty people.
Yeah.
But did you, now that we've talked about that, do any of those comments or those thoughts, I know sometimes they're kind of hard and they're insulting, and in that end of it, but do they ever motivate you to push through or prove people wrong too? Or
Yes, definitely. It's taught me to really take a look at who I want to be, what I want to reflect, and just really sit with that, get super cleared on that. Because if you're confident in who you are and who you want to be, other people's opinions can sail over. It might bother you for a minute, but then you go back to, I've gotten super clear on who I am.
Sure.
Therefore, this comment is irrelevant to me and I can let that pass.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned, I was on a journey of self-confidence. I feel like everybody grows or goes on that. It's part of growing up.
Sure.
But it's one thing that I love about modeling and acting is it has taught me to be very confident in who I am. And it's taught me to not allow other people's opinions to shape who I am.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. What are some things that you learned about yourself?
I struggled a lot with confidence.
Okay.
And I learned I wanted to be confident more than anything. I wanted to, and I couldn't get a grasp on how to do that.
Did you watch that in other people and you're like, I want that in myself? Or
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I was so insecure. I was such a people pleaser. I didn't know who I was or who I wanted to be. I just knew that something about modeling and acting just kept calling me, and I kept going back. I'd hate it and I'd leave and I'd go back. And so that's pretty much all I knew. And so I approached many confident people that I admired, and I'm like, how do you do that? And what I got back over and over was, you fake it till you make it. You act confident, you show up confident, you embody confidence, and eventually one day it'll click. And I kept hearing that. I asked so many different people. I read so many books on it. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to do a little experiment and just try showing up how these people do. Try showing up as if I was confident. And sure enough, one day I stopped caring, and boom, I was like, I got it. And obviously I have moments where that confidence is shaken, but I don't lay in bed at night agonizing over the dumb things I did anymore.
Well,
I don't go to photo shoots and have to go to the bathroom and have a panic attack because I feel so ugly and so fat and so embarrassed and so this and so whatever. It's like, if the client doesn't like me, that's not the end of the world. No one died, Right. And if the client does like me, great.
Yeah, exactly. We'll be booking
and it's
again.
taken away a lot of the anxiety and given me a lot more freedom.
Cool. What are some of those behaviors that because I mean, usually there's some mechanical, physical thing that we do, whether you build yourself up in a mirror, you stand tall or whatever. What were some of those things that you looked at and you're like, I'm going to do this to make myself feel more confident?
So you're making me a little vulnerable here. I read this book that absolutely transformed my life. Cool. It's called Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It. And it's by Kamal Ravikant. And I'm not being sponsored to say any of this. It changed my life. So I want to tell people about it. All of his books are amazing. But that was a pivotal moment in my life. And one thing he taught in that book was to stand in front of the mirror and talk to yourself. Yeah. So often, especially us girlies, we stand in front of the mirror and the flaws jump out at us. Right. And we're like, oh my goodness. Oh, I hate that. And I hate this. And I hate whatever. That's our default as human beings, especially as women. Yeah. And so the way to contradict that or counteract that, I guess, is by being very intentional about saying the opposite. Stand in front of the mirror and build yourself up. So I feel like I really retrained my mind by doing mirror talk. It was so awkward at first and so uncomfortable, and it felt weird. But that book taught me some really valuable practices. And the more I did that, the more free I got. So whenever I get back into that funk, because I truly believe that life is a constant process of growing and evolving and leveling up and getting better and stronger and more confident, more blank, whatever it is you're working. I agree. So whenever I feel like I'm in a funk or something, I go back to some of those practices, and it's very, very, very helpful. Cool.
As over time, obviously it progresses to where you catch yourself probably more getting into that funk and you can solve it sooner probably too, right?
Absolutely. Because I used to live and operate from deep, deep, deep self-hatred and insecurity. And that's a really miserable way to live. And I feel like I've slowly risen out of that. In life, you'll probably never fully get out of that, because that's part of being a human being in some way, shape, or form. But I've gotten so much freedom, and it's so exciting, and it's so much happier here. Love it here. So
easier to get up in the morning and just do your thing then, right? So
absolutely. Yeah.
That's so cool. No, you can definitely see that in you, that it's been a change for you. So that's amazing.
Yeah, I'm so grateful, because I was really crippled for a while, and I never thought, I just thought that's something I had to accept about myself. I'm always going to have extreme anxiety, extreme self-hatred, no confidence. That's just who I am. That's just my lot in life. I was operating from a victim mindset, but there was many small pivots, but that was a really pivotal point is when I read that book. I was like, wait, you mean that I can be confident and I don't have to live like this? And then, yeah, it's just been such a amazing journey of growth ever since.
So cool. Well, one more vulnerable question. Being a model, your face is plastered on somebody's Instagram page forever. Do you ever look back at your old photos and, I don't know, reflect a little bit on what it was like before versus now? Or
it's funny you asked that because yesterday I pulled up some old work and was showing a friend. Cool. And it was some work that I'm not proud of.
We all got those.
Really embarrassing.
You're fine. I'm sure it's great. Yeah.
No. Actually, unfortunately, this was some of the worst work I'd ever done. I was just brand new. I didn't know what I was doing. It was acting work, which is even more vulnerable. You're putting yourself out there, and
right.
So, but it was a great moment for me because I knew it was not good. So I showed it to them and I was laughing about it. I'm like, this is so funny. Look what
at this.
Did. And yes, that is online forever. Mm-hmm. And yes, it doesn't reflect me how I would love to be reflected. But if you can turn something around like that around and just laugh at it, you see it as a point of humor. Totally. I think that's a great perspective, a great lens to look at it.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of projects like that are online from me being 18, 19, 20. Even now, sometimes a project will turn out and it won't be great.
Yes.
But that's also just part of being a human with flaws and imperfection. And a powerful practice I've learned is to laugh at myself because humor is great and humor will lighten any difficult thing, I feel like.
It's so healing, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. The Bible says a merry heart does good like a medicine. So
very true.
If you laugh at stuff, it can definitely help it.
Absolutely. No, that's well said. And good on you for continuing to pursue that. I think, a lot of people see those traditions, or they read the books, or they do the practices, but they don't ever get to the point where they actually see the results of that. And you're doing that too. We're looking back and going, wow, look how far I've come too, right? So
yes, it's a great benchmark.
Absolutely. And bonuses, and I don't know if anybody else has creeped other people online, but something I always love, especially with content creators, is you like going back as an audience to see where people have come from. And I don't think people always see the value in that, because not only does it show that, sure, you're awkward like everybody else, we all are at some point, right? But you kept progressing and you moved yourself forward, right? And people really are inspired, and they choose to follow you because they want to do that themselves too, right? So absolutely.
Yes, I love that. And one thing I've seen with other creators, other models, other influencers, is that I fall in love with genuinity. Ooh. If I see someone who's awkward and shy and vulnerable and not all perfect and polished, I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm drawn to that, Mm-hmm. And so then that also helps me when I see something that's super flawed that I'm not proud of. Hey, maybe it'll speak to someone in some way, And then It's also freeing because it's easy for us as humans to polish ourselves up and create a perfect image and present that, and hide behind that and only want to show that. But there's something so refreshing about genuinity and imperfection.
Very well said. Absolutely. No.
Yeah. And that's another thing that has also really helped me with modeling. So one of my insecurities is I have a lot of scars. Like I mentioned, I grew up on a farm, so I have a lot of crazy scars. For example, I've got a horse bite on my left elbow. I don't know if you can see it on camera right here. But whenever I do shoots, I tell the photographers, hey, you might want to edit this out. But I had this crazy stallion growing up, and he bit the heck out of my shoulder one day. And I was gushing blood, and it's a funny story, But I used to literally walk around like this, tryring to hide it.
Really?
I was so insecure about it. But now I just own it. It's a cool story. Totally. And I still get to model, even though I have scars.
Totally.
So that's helped me with confidence.
That's a super cool story. Yeah. I'll add, we're kind of twinsies. I've got a birthmark in the back of my arm.
Oh, yeah?
It's like a big red spot. And so people are always like, what's that thing on your arm all the time, right? And so it's like, it's, I got burned bad. I just tell them I got burned bad, and they all kind of laugh. I'm like, no. My mom dropped me. It's okay. So it's a birthmark there. So
that's so funny. Yeah, if it's like a stranger and I don't feel like telling them my business, I'll make up the wildest story.
Yeah.
It depends. If it's Tuesday, I got shot. If it's Friday, it's a dinosaur bite. And if it's Sunday, I got attacked by wolf.
There you go. Exactly. Just run with the day, right?
Fresh. Yes, exactly.
People go, okay, yeah, sure, yeah.
Yeah, and they'll gobble it up. They'll take whatever. And I'm like, if you're a stranger, I'm not obligated to tell you the truth.
No, that's right.
Get.
It's personal security, you can call it that, right? Not keeping everybody fully aware of what's going on. So
I like that. Yeah. I like that. And that's also where my acting skills get to shine.
There you go too, for sure. Absolutely. What's been one of the coolest shoots or most unique locations that you've gotten to work, shoot at, or go out to?
I got to be part of a show in Sholo, Arizona, and it's on Amazon Prime currently. That was one of the biggest projects I got to do.
What's it called?
Okay, so I'm not extremely proud of it, but it's cute. It's cute. It's funny. It's a Western. It's called Horse Camp.
Horse Camp. Okay.
Yes. And it's one season, and I believe it's 9 episodes.
Okay.
I got to play the part of a buckle bunny.
Cool.
So that was super fun.
No kidding.
And that gave me a real glimpse into what it's like to be an actor.
Right.
And it's difficult.
Yeah.
It's high, such high focus, and then also a lot of downtime sitting around in between.
Right.
Shots. And then the amount of times you have to take a shot to get all the angles is unbelievable.
Right.
And the amount of mistakes that can be made and will be made.
There's a few, eh?
Crazy. And I haven't been able to watch a TV show the same since, because I understand the level of hard work that goes into by everybody involved, and it gives me a lot of respect for actors. I feel like there's a common misconception that actors have such an easy job. It's like all you have to do is be in front of a camera. It's not easy. It's not easy.
Over and over again, right?
Yeah. I remember another time, this was for a different project, but there was a scene where I had to drink water, and it wasn't water, it was colored water. It was supposed to be an alcoholic drink, but they weren't going to let me drink alcohol on set. So I ended up drinking probably 2 quarts of water by the time that scene was done, because I had to drink water so many times, and I'm like sitting there, my stomach's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and I'm like, I can only drink so much water. Help! So that was funny, but actors go through a lot. There was another time I shot, and it was freezing cold and drizzly rain, and it was miserable. I was shivering for hours on end. And actors have to deal with extreme element and hunger and thirst and exhaustion, and it's not easy. It gives me a lot of respect for people who do that full time.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Just to jump back to the show that you were in, are you in all of the 9 episodes, or?
No, I don't have a huge role. I have a few speaking lines. I actually haven't watched the whole thing. I have to watch it. I don't know. I usually don't.
Kind of weird, probably.
It's a little weird. Sometimes I do, just to learn from it and see how I can do better.
Yeah.
But other times I don't rewatch, especially if it's not a project that I was super excited about.
Right.
Because I'm like, it's done. And if I rewatch it, I'll hyper analyze and pick myself apart. And it's already done and it's already out there. So
that's right. It's gone.
Yeah.
Cool. That's very exciting. Thank you for sharing that. So people will be excited to go just to see you in it there. So
yes, I'm sure I'll get some lovely constructive criticism and feedback. But bring it on. It'll make my skin thicker. Thank you very much.
It'll all be positive, guys, right? Yeah. Cool. What's a dream brand or dream project for you to work on?
Oh my. I want to walk in Paris fashion.
There's a good goal.
Yes. And I want to write and star in my own movie one day.
Cool.
I love to write.
Big goal.
And I love to act.
Yep.
So I have a story, and I've already kind of put a script together.
Nice.
And I would love to see that come to fruition one day. That's down the road a little bit.
Yeah.
But that is a dream that has been.
You're putting all the pieces together.
Yeah. Yes, I think that.
What, I guess, because you were in the modeling thing first, how did you transition a little bit into the acting stuff as well?
So the modeling came to me. I pursued the act.
Okay.
For so long, I fought against, I don't know, I wanted to be able to express my personality. And modeling, it's hard to do that. You can facially express your personality a bit. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words.
Yep.
But I wanted to play different characters and be able to explore that side of my creativity.
Sure.
One thing that's so fun about acting is you can try on different personalities and different characters.
I suppose.
Yeah. So I pursued acting. I did a lot of every project I could. A lot of free work. Free work. feel like it's more difficult for me, at least, to find paid acting gigs than modeling.
Right.
But that's what I was most passionate about. I would still say that is what I'm most passionate about, more than modeling. But I also love modeling.
Cool.
I'll be more willing to do a free acting project than a free model.
Yeah, and it's all part and partial. If you got a business decision probably to make too, right? You still got to pay bills, but
yes,
but it's a good thing to balance everything out too, right? So
absolutely.
Have you been down to Hollywood for anything yet, or is that in the works?
I've done some projects in LA.
Cool.
Yeah,
Nice.
but I also pitched my script to a big director and producer in LA. Didn't go anywhere, but that was a cool experience. Got flown out in a private jet.
Really?
Yeah, that was really cool.
How do you even
happened
get that?
from that. That was a connection, like a friend of a friend.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't show that for me. I always say your network is your network.
Good
so
point.
connections are everything.
Yeah.
So I'll do a lot to make connections. Connections have opened so many doors.
Networking events, Instagram. What are some ways you kind of build those?
Just friends, just being friendly to whoever you come across. I'm a big believer in treating people well. Big believer in karma. So when I meet, I'm going to be kind. I'm going to treat the pauper just like I treat the prince.
Yes, absolutely.
And that has always opened doors for me and led me to high places. So
good advice. I think sometimes, dare I say it, that some people sometimes have some egos involved in what they're doing, especially in this industry. And one of the most, you echo a lot of the same thoughts that I've had from or heard from other people that have been successful. It's like, be a nice person. Like, you can go a long ways with just being somebody that people get along with, and you show up on time, and you're prepared and all that stuff, right? That makes a big difference, right? So
absolutely. And all of us are born with a conscience, with innate knowing of right and wrong.
Yes.
We overcomplicate everything so much, but I really think that life is a lot more simple than that. Just follow what you know is right and what you avoid what you know is wrong. And it's really simple. You can't really mess it up.
Yeah, but people do it.
But people do it anyway. People get real creative out there. People love to complicate.
Oh, don't they?
I say that because I am a person, Exhibit A, right here.
Yeah, exactly. Somehow we think that that's more valuable or adding more value somehow by just taking it away out of proportion, right? So
yeah, complicating everything. The older I get, the more I realize that life is simple.
It's a lot less stressful, at least if you aim for simple anyway. So
yes, absolutely.
What are whether it's in acting or modeling, what are some things that people should be cautious of, or kind of how do they stay safe when they're developing or going through those initial stages and stuff that you found?
It's a really good question. I didn't start until I was over 18, and I'm super grateful for that.
Yeah.
I feel like starting when you're young, when you're under 18, it can
more risk
shape what you think of yourself. Because the industry tells you what to think of yourself all the time.
They do,
and
don't they?
I'm so grateful. I'm sorry.
They do, don't they? Yeah.
Yes, very much so. But if you already have that confidence in knowing who you are and you're not allowing yourself to be shaped, that's going to help you a lot. But it makes me really sad to see how some child actors can get absolutely destroyed. Their mental health can get mutilated.
Yeah.
Simply by being told what to think about
Yeah.
by then. And I've seen it over and over. I've done a lot of case studies, if you will, on actors and models that I look up to.
Yeah.
And mental health is such a battle in the industry, and it breaks my heart. And I think that so often that's because it's such a cutthroat, cruel industry.
Yes.
So that's my number one thing is know who you are.
Yep.
Work on personal development constantly. Work on keeping your mental health as a top priority. Above all costs, above everything. One thing that has stayed super consistent for me over the last several years of being in this industry is consistently working on fortifying my mental health and keeping that priority above everything. So, for example, when I felt like the industry was taking a toll on me, I took a step back. And I'm so glad I did, because I was able to come back into it with fresh eyes and a fresh perspective.
Yeah.
And that was so healthy.
Recharge.
Yeah. So I would say that would be my number one advice, and just have a growth mindset. Always be growing and learning as a person and working on yourself and chasing what makes you happy. If this doesn't make you happy, like absolutely wrong. The only reason why I'm still here is because I can't walk away because it's in my blood or something. It's in it's a passion. It never has left.
Grandpa.
Yeah, probably. Probably. It's never left. It's always been a fire. And I'm not extremely I'm not extremely successful by any means, but I love what I do, and that's all that really matters, and it fulfills me.
I'm pretty successful to me, just saying, but yeah, no, that's really good. It's really good.
And it will be the biggest personal development journey. That's another thing I would want to say. I didn't realize that, but it'll make you question every single thing you ever thought about yourself because you get so hyper analyzed.
Right.
And it'll bring up triggers that you didn't even realize you had. But that's super powerful because then you have something to work on.
Exactly. It's like a cycle, circle.
Exactly.
Stressed out, figure it out, feel good about yourself, start over again, right? So
Yep, very much so.
What do you do for Saffron's? I don't know, do you have daily rituals? Some people pray, some people meditate, some people go on a run. Like, do you have things in your life that you have constant to kind of keep you building and growing that mindset piece? Or
yes, I am a big sucker for routines. I love my routine.
Nice.
Health is one of my highest values, so I really prioritize my health.
Okay.
Make sure to stay super hydrated. I prioritize sleep. I am really mindful of my nutrition.
Yes.
But with all that in mind, I live by the 80-20 rule. So 80% of the time I'm super dialed in.
Yep.
20% of the time I am staying up late. I'm drinking alcohol. It's a balance. It's a balance because I feel like being completely healthy 100% of the time isn't realistic.
No.
So I live by the 80-20 rule. Yeah. But probably 90% of the time, 80 to 90% of the time, I'm super dialed in with my yoga and my walks and my meditation and my routines and drinking water and eating healthy and spending time in nature and getting sun and grounding. I love trying new things that I hear that will boost my health, boost my happiness. So I love trying a bunch of new things. Cold plunges have been recently. I actually just got a contract with a company who's sending me an ice pod.
They are they?
Back into cold plunging again, which I'm super excited about.
I don't know about that one. That's pretty scary, that thing. I don't know.
You have to try. Have you ever tried it?
I live in Canada, so it's kind of one of those things where it feels like my whole winter is kind of a cold plunge, but I probably should give it a go. So
yeah, that's fair. See, I don't like the cold. That's why I live in Arizona, where it's been 100 degrees for over 100 days.
Moving places, honestly.
But I would highly recommend. We just had a crazy record-breaking streak. It was over 100 degrees for over 100 days in a row, I think. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, I saw crazy statistics.
Sounds wonderful.
Yeah. But I love the heat because I can cold plunge.
Right.
Get absolutely frigid and then step directly out of the water into the 100-degree heat again.
Tell me a little bit about this cold plunge, because I see people doing it on Instagram all the time. But is it like 32-degree water, or how cold is this thing?
Yeah. Yikes. Yeah. Very close to freezing.
And then how long do you have to stay in there?
Solid. I don't recommend staying in longer than 3 minutes. Otherwise, it gets to be a bit detrimental from the study I've done.
Okay.
3 minutes is the sweet spot, 1 to 3 minutes. But you also have to build up to it. Because when I started, I couldn't have lasted 3 minutes. But now it's pretty standard for me to do 3 minutes. It's amazing, the health benefits. And when you get out, you feel like such a rush of endorphins. It's amazing. I feel like I can take on the world after a cold plunge. Probably
can.
Yeah.
That's brutal.
Yeah. And it's also so good for your mindset because it's difficult. Yes. And when you're in the cold plunge, you're so uncomfortable. And all you want to do is leap out of it. And it just shows you how powerful you are. If you can control your mind, you can control your life.
Right.
Anyone can stay in cold water for 3 minutes. It's the mind that screams at you to jump out.
Right.
And if you can overpower that voice and stay in for 3 minutes,
you can do
then you get out and you just feel like, oh my goodness, I could take on anything.
Top of the world.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you're literally fighting every natural instinct and you're controlling your mind. And then it branches out into so many other things. Because if you can control your thoughts, you can control your life because your thoughts shape your life. And sorry, I'm dorking out a little bit here, but I'm super passionate about this stuff. And cold plunges have changed my life. So I would highly recommend you first move to Arizona and then try a cold plunge.
We'll talk about step one. Then we'll talk. I got it. Does it get any easier ever, or?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Now I'm in a place where I can switch off the monkey brain and call it the monkey part of you that's just chattering. Get out. You can't do this. You're cold. You're miserable. You hate it here. Come on. What are you doing? Blah, 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 blah. That you can switch off and go into a deep place of peace and quiet. And that is also such a holy place.
That's crazy.
That's a powerful place. Such a deep meditation moment.
Mm-hmm.
And the cold fades away. The chatter monkey brain fades away. And it's just a deep sense of peace. In the cold. And I can reach that place faster and faster and faster each time I cold plunge. Cool. So like at first I would just force myself for an entire minute and my brain would be screaming at me and I'd jump out and I'd be like, oh my gosh, I made it. That was horrible. Whatever. I did it. Whatever. And then the second time I did it, for the first 45 seconds, monkey brain was screaming at me. And then I was able to get a glimpse of the peace. And now I go in and I go straight to that place of peace, deep meditation. And then my alarm goes off because I usually set like a 3-minute timer.
Right.
I hear that sound and I'm like, oh my goodness, it's over already. And I get out. Yeah.
Wow.
Now it's literally, this is going to sound like I'm a crazy psychopath, but I crave the cold and it's enjoyable because I can go straight to that place of deep peace and I don't even hear or feel the monkey brain. It's pretty cool.
I'm struggling with the cold thing, but yes, I'm very impressed. That's so cool. And once you get your mind trained on how to go to that deep meditative place, like you could probably do that outside the cold plunge then too, right?
Yes. The other day I had to get some dental work done.
Ooh.
And I hate the dentist. I don't know of anyone that loves the dentist. I love my dentist. She's hilarious. She always makes me laugh. She's the most sunshiny person ever. Awesome. But I hate getting dental work done. There's something about like the grind and the gears and it's terrible. And I had to get a filling. Don't judge me. I need to brush my teeth better, whatever. But I had to get a filling. So I went to the dentist and I was just feeling that anxiety, when you get on the chair and you're like, I don't want to be here. And it's not fun. And they get out the big syringe. And I was like, you know what? I wonder if I could go into that place. Oh, just got a thumbs up.
There you go. Cool.
But I was like, I wonder if I can transfer the tools I learned from cold plunging into the dentist chair. And I went right into that deep place of meditation. And it was so cool. And the grinding kind of faded away. And then before I knew it, the filling was done. And I was like, hey, this is so cool. I can use this in lots of different situations. So
that's a great example. And one everybody can totally sympathize with because nobody likes doing that. So
exactly. Yeah. I was also talking to this really cool lady that I met a few weeks ago. And she was talking about how she used deep meditation through her birthing process.
Wow.
And that blew my mind. Yeah. I was, wow, because everyone knows that childbirth is horrific. And so if you can use that as a tool, that's pretty darn cool.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I won't ever have to experience that myself, but I mean, I've been through that with my daughter. But yeah, you might be talking me into a cold plunge. We'll talk about it. So
you got to keep me updated.
Okay. I'll post something online somewhere, but yeah.
Yeah. But to be fair, if I lived in Canada, I abhor the cold. Like I can't do it. I lived in Pennsylvania, like I mentioned, in the winter's freezing. And it was horrific. I did not enjoy it. I would never move anywhere cold. So I can't blame you if you're not going to do it. Even in the winters here, it only gets 60s, 50s, but I'm not going to be doing a cold plunge.
Probably not. Yeah.
Yeah. So I get that. You have a valid excuse.
I'll take one, but flip side of it is it definitely does sound like it's got a lot of those properties that I think more people would really benefit from, even on just, if you don't want to do things like you're doing with modeling or anything like that, right? But I think career people or people on this low-key day, like if you can get yourself to a place where you're in a deep state faster, wow, you're unstoppable, right? So
absolutely. It's a powerful tool to have in your tool belt.
Cool. I'm excited to hear more about the cold plunge. I'm going to look that up. So
yeah, stay posted because I'm going to have the ice pod arriving soon.
Okay. We'll be watching
content around that.
We'll share some of that somewhere so everybody on the podcast can hear you talk about it and see it happen too, right? So
yeah.
Big ambitions for the next year or two here. What are some of Saffron's after you get your new cool cold plunge tank, or some other big dreams for you?
Well, like I mentioned, I very recently, as of like a week ago, decided to pivot into modeling and acting full time.
Nice.
It's a bit scary because I don't know why that just came out as an accent. It's a bit scary
That is scary.
It's one of my secret acting skills that I have. Exactly. Anyway, important. I will spare your podcast listeners from any more of my acting. But I am a bit scared because acting and modeling gigs, you go from gig to gig. I have a whole bunch of stuff lined up for the next month. Mm-hmm. But the month after that, I don't have filled up yet. And the month after that and the following months, So it's not like consistent income. So that can be a bit scary.
Yeah,
but totally. It's what I'm passionate about. And I just turned 25 and I've always had this on the back burner and had my real job, my big girl job in the forefront. And all of my real big girl jobs, I haven't been passionate about. And so I'm taking a giant leap of faith and I'm finally capitalizing on what I love.
Good for you.
And so that feels really, really, really good and really exciting, but it's also really scary. So I guess I'm just hoping that everything will take off for me this year.
Yeah.
And that's my big goal and big plan. If I could actually pull this off and actually do this full time, do what I love full time, that would enhance my quality of life so much.
Totally.
And that is what lights me up and excites me. So
cool. Yeah, no, we're excited to watch that. Yeah. And hopefully these kind of things give you some of those one-ups on maybe some of the people you might be competing with again, or people get your name out there a little bit more, right? Because the more you do, the more people see you, the more they want to book you too, right? So
exactly. Yes. And I just want to say thank you again so much for having me on this podcast and giving me this platform.
You bet. I'm glad you came and glad you could share. So
yeah.
I'll be buying a cold plunge. I'm thinking after this. So yeah.
I might know a guy. I might be
okay. It's got a pretty good deal, eh?
Yes.
How do people follow you if they want to support you or get in contact if they want to book you or anything like that?
So my name is Saffron, like the spice. Last name is Keehn, Keehn. And my Instagram handle is Saffron Keehn. And my email is saffronkeehn@gmail.com. Cool. Try to make it super easy for everyone. And then it's the same across all platforms. If you look up Saffron Keehn, you'll be able to find me pretty easy.
Nice. Well said. Easy done and easy to book. So
bam. Try to keep it simple.
My favorite question of the night, and it kind of leads us to the end, but if your Instagram blows up to 5 million followers overnight or whatever is a big number to you, what would be one thing that you'd want people to know after you've made it?
After I've made it? I just am really passionate about inspiring people. Making people want to get up out of bed in the morning. Making people feel valued. Someone genuine, someone connected. I don't know if I'm ever going to get big. That's not a huge priority. But if I do, I want to never lose sight of my flaws and my genuinity and my imperfections. It's kind of how we started talking at the beginning of this. I resonate and connect with people who show their flaws very openly, who show the raw parts of being a human being. And I hope that if I ever get huge, I never lose sight of who I am as a flawed, raw, scarred, horse-bitten human being. I never want to get polished and perfected and unachievable and unattainable.
Well said. And those are the kind of things that inspire others and get us all to move to a different level, I think, too. So thank you for sharing that. So
life is a constant journey of leveling up, I feel like. And you never reach the final level on this earth. And that's what's fun about life. You just get to keep going.
Enjoy every day for what you get and push a little harder the next day, right?
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for sharing your time with us, Saffron, and talking about cold plunges and getting bitten by a horse and some of the things that have led you to your modeling career. And we're really excited to see you pursue things and get to the next project wherever and however that works out for you. So thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me, Ben. This has been such a pleasure. So much fun.
Yeah,
I'd bet to see you cold plunging pretty soon here.
Well, I'll tag you if I get there. We'll see how that goes. But yeah.
Great deal. Sounds good.
Okay, right on. Take care.
You too.